Hey guys, and welcome back to the Smoke Break, episode 3. This is the new thing I've been doing the last couple weeks, and kind of enjoying this format, and I've got some good feedback so far on the format. So this is kind of a format where podcast style, commentary style, where we do some segments, and all of the links are in the description for the different segments. So, for example, we talk about a movie every week, a review. We talk about WandaVision, for example, and then maybe some Star Wars stuff, and then I'll split that up. I'm able to chop these videos up if I choose to do that. But either way, the full episode has timestamps. You can see there in the play bar and in the description. So, for example, if you love Star Wars news but don't give a shit about Marvel or vice versa, you can click on what you want. So anyway, real quick this week on the book update before we get into the movie segments and all that good stuff as well. The book update is that I am currently on version 4 of edits, and this is kind of my cleanup based off some feedback I got from developmental editors, and we are running a campaign. By the way, I'm speaking of my debut novel, The Crimson Gods, which the plan is to get out this summer. Hopefully, I'm shooting for June, but it may end up being July, maybe August, we'll see, and that all depends on the editors and their schedules because they're really backed up. So I have received feedback, as I mentioned last time, and I've now corrected a lot of that stuff in the first couple chapters, and now I'm going through the rest of the book. So this is really technically version 4, maybe even 5, honestly. And I want to get it cleaned up and the prose as tight as possible, and all the stuff fixed before it goes to the developmental editor, so I have a true idea of what I need to do to improve the story overall. But anyway, it's going good. It's just kind of a holding pattern. We do have an Indiegogo campaign, by the way. For a shameless self-plug here, to raise money to pay for this. I decided to self-publish, and I talked about that in some of the writing videos. Speaking of the writing videos, they will be coming back. It's been kind of tight the last couple of weeks. I've been having to work more often with the death of YouTube to try to pay the bills. But anyway, nevertheless, we have a Indiegogo campaign, and we are at 47% of our goal, and the goal was fairly close to what we needed to cover editing and at least some of a voice actor for the audiobook, because there will be an audio version for Audible and all those sites as well. And we have 12 days left, so if you're interested in that link will be in the description below and likely the pinned comment. So The Crimson Gods, shooting for the summer, 12 days left of the goal on Indiegogo, 47%. So thank you guys so much for the pre-order so far. This is essentially a pre-order. There will be obviously an actual pre-order on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles and all that good stuff, because it's going to be available everywhere, including some bookstores and stuff as well. So anyway, let's jump over and talk about the movie segment this week. We're talking about Greenland. I saw a lot of mixed reviews for this movie, but mostly fairly negative, and so I decided to watch it because I do enjoy a good disaster movie. And what I'll do what I'll do is switch over here, and I'll play this trailer in the background just while I'm talking. The whole idea behind this kind of format is I'm just going to do it. It's unedited, other than chopping out stuff where maybe I fuck up the recording or something. But these are unedited, so I'm not going to be putting any screenshots or whatever. So I'll play this in the background, and I'll throw up maybe something over it so I don't get copyright striked or whatever, because they will try to take everything down. Even though it's all fair use and we're promoting their movies. But anyway, Greenland, saw a lot of, I'll actually just play this here and mute it in the background if you're interested in this movie. This is the next the Gerard Butler movie, and I love him and most of his stuff. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is going to be really cool, another good disaster movie. I mean, because they're pretty epic in scale. And just seeing those visuals is pretty awesome as far as entertainment goes. I mean, obviously, we don't want real shit like that to actually happen. But this brings up that possibility. It makes you think about it, because it's certainly a possibility. The idea here is that there's a comet coming by Earth, and scientists think initially it's just going to be a near miss, which I don't understand that term. I would call it a near fucking hit. But the point being is it's supposed to come by Earth, and just be spectacular, and everybody's going to watch it go by, whatever. And as it gets closer to the sun, it's in many segments. So, of course, a comet's made of ice, and it melts and makes it expand, whatever. And it throws it off course. And so now, oh, shit, all the fragments are going to enter the atmosphere. and some will burn up, but most of them will not. It's going to be a big bad thing, and it's going to be a planet ender. It's going to be an extinction event, essentially, within a couple days. So I looked at the reviews on this, and most people they were fairly negative, actually. And so I was like, I'll check it out, So I wanted to watch it anyway and give my own opinion. So I watched it, and it's not as bad as people say. I mean, is it a great movie? No, it's not outstanding, but it's not a bad movie. So it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be based off, again, the reviews that I had seen. Of course, this again is Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin. She was in a lot of stuff. She was in V, the show V. I believe she was in a couple other shows. And anyway, she's in it. She plays his wife. And what I like about it is it follows the family's perspective. So although you do get some epic shots of, like you're seeing here in the background, meteor fragments raining down on Earth, and, obviously that big one right there, you're getting some of these shots, but it doesn't focus on that. It doesn't focus on the visual aspect so much. This is kind of a mid-range budget movie, I believe. And actually, I'll pull over here to, I believe it was right here. I had, I pulled up Robert Ebert, actually, just to see his thoughts on it. Now, interesting. He gave it a 2.5 stars. I'm not going to go through... this is RobertEbert.com. So this is Peter Sabinsky, I guess it is, the reviewer. So he gives this movie a 2.5 stars, and I would disagree. I don't think it's 2.5 stars. I would give it a solid 3.5. I don't know. If I don't do ratings, but the point being that I don't necessarily agree with this. And I won't go again through his review, but what I liked about it is it followed their perspective as opposed to just like kind of a worldwide thing. So essentially, the idea is, he's been estranged a little bit. They're still not divorced. Him talking about Gerard Butler, obviously, and his wife. So they're estranged. He comes back home, and I guess they're trying to work on things. The idea, and they get together for this kind of neighborhood gathering to watch this, this comet enter the atmosphere or go by Earth or whatever. It's going to be a big event, and apparently. So they have this kind of grill cookout, whatever. And a piece comes barreling in and lands, I don't know how many thousands of miles away it is, but it creates this big aftershock during the party, so they realize something's wrong. And he gets, by the way, spoilers, just a heads up, I'm going to spoil the movie. I won't go through it everything in detail, but just to give you kind of the overview. He and his wife both get it's almost like getting an Amber Alert on your phone. They get an alert on their phones and their TV. They've been chosen by the U.S. government to be relocated to an underground bunker in Greenland. Now, of course, he doesn't know at the time it's in Greenland, but they're supposed to report to an Air Force base. And their neighbors, who are all in the room, are like, why are you getting it? Why are we not getting it? They realize this is going to be bad now because the news is now telling everybody this is going to be an extinction level event. You have this many hours, whatever it is. You're going to see a lot. And you already see like these small little things just destroying entire states and other small countries and et cetera. So it's pretty bad. So they pack up their shit and get the hell out of there. So what I enjoyed about it was, it was a solid entertaining disaster movie in the sense of they focused on the family, what they go through, as opposed to just focusing on big giant visuals, although you do get enough of that. So I think that's well balanced. The cons are what I would say would be the repetition of things. There's only so many ways that you can get separated because they pack all their shit right, and they're trying to head off to this Air Force base to get on these planes and be taken to these bunkers somewhere. And they're not even sure why they were chosen, but it turns out it's based off their professions. He is an architect. He specifically builds giant skyscrapers and stuff, so he's a real high-end architect or whatever. Engineer is what he is. They need engineers and doctors and things like that. So they're choosing people based off their professions. And anyway, as they go, they pack up their shit. They can take like one bag apiece. They head out. Their neighbors, are all like mad at them. And they're just kind of, what bothers me about that scene is they're all just kind of standing around outside as they leave instead of doing their own packing and getting the hell out of Dodge. They could try something, but their neighbors are just like mad at them and just stand there in the yard like, okay, well, I guess we'll stay here and die. I mean, try something is all I'm saying. Anyway, The point being is that they get separated. They do get separated. Their son is diabetic, so they lose his medicine once they get inside this facility. He's got to try to go back out through these crowds outside the Air Force Base where they had to park their car on the highway and get his medicine that had fallen out of the bag. And, of course, they get separated. Then, as she goes up to a guard and says, my son, he's diabetic. He needs his insulin. My husband's going to go back and get it. And then that kind of throws up a red flag and ends up being that they are rejecting anybody with any medical conditions. So they end up getting rejected after they'd already been approved and had this little thing on their wrist. So they had this wristband. Wristband plays into it as well when they go out because people see this thing and they want it, obviously. So anyway, the point being is that they get kicked out while he's going back. Now, he's on a plane looking for them, and they're already been kicked out of the facility. Then he's got to leave the shit. We have all these people trying to get on these airplanes. It starts a whole fucking mess, obviously. And the idea was she was going to go to her father's house in Kentucky somewhere and meet him there. But they're separated. He finds out via a note. They can't use their cell phones, but sometimes they can. So I did have an issue with the cell phone thing. Like, I totally get, some things are going to be down. But this was not like it was all raining down at one time. There were still spotty cell phone service, but it was just convenient, if that makes sense. It was convenient times for the cell phones not to be able to work because all it would take was a text message or a phone call. And they eventually do some of that, but then, of course, it breaks up, right? It's like it's not taking out all the satellites, and it's not taking out every city. It's only hit a couple places so far. So these meteor pieces or asteroid. I'm sorry, they're comet. Technically, it's a comet, but whatever. The point being is they get separated several times. There's only so many times that you can kind of get separated, and then in this world without cell phones all of a sudden, except for when it's convenient, then they kind of get back together. And so if you're looking for a big twist where, like, several times I thought surely he's going to sacrifice himself for his wife and child. And he was willing to do that for sure, but it didn't end up happening. So it's a pretty standard ending. No twist if you're looking for a twist, but it was an entertaining movie. So I don't agree with this 2.5 stars. I would say at least a solid 3 if I was going off a 5-star rating system. But anyway, I don't give ratings because again they're kind of superficial. But anyway, if you're looking for a 2-hour entertaining movie that and you like kind of disaster style movies, watch it. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, like, again, there's bad parts, and the middle to the end gets kind of repetitive, I would say. But overall, it's a pretty damn good movie, and it focuses on the characters. There's a little bit of character development there too, that you find out specifically about him and why they were going through a possible divorce and all this kind of stuff, and you meet her father and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, if you have a couple hours and you're looking for a good entertaining movie without having to overthink things, give Greenland a shot. I think it's pretty good, but it's not going to win any awards, obviously. Anyway, okay, let's jump over and talk about WandaVision episode 7. I know I have not been doing the individual videos, WandaVision reviews, and I think I mentioned that last episode. I'm just not going to do that anymore, right? At least for now, until we get maybe stuff like House of the Dragon in the future, like we used to do Game of Thrones. But it's for my own mental health. So trust me when I say it's not that I don't want to do some of these shows, but it's really honestly pointless. So I'd rather do this type of thing where I can just talk about it. We're doing the live streams on Sunday still as well, so that's a big thing. So we actually already have reviewed it live. So we did the Smoke Break Live on Sunday night at 10:30, and we'll continue to do that as well. So if you're down for hanging out with the community and talking about this kind of stuff, check out our live streams on Sundays. But WandaVision. So let's see here. I want to talk about where this may lead. We got the big reveal in episode 7 that, of course, we kind of all knew this, but they did finally reveal Agatha Agnes is Agatha Harkness, that we all pretty much assumed, and she was behind everything. We have a new catchy jingle that she was behind everything. So we got that reveal. We saw Monica Rambeau officially kind of become Photon. They didn't obviously call her that yet, but she now has powers that she's discovering as well. So she goes back through the Hex for the 3rd time since Darcy had told us she went through twice, and it rewrote her cells essentially on the cellular level. So that's what's given her this power. So now she's going back through a third time, forced her way through, and then now she can see the different spectrums of electromagnetic energy, and that's what makes her Spectrum, which she's been called. She was the second Captain Marvel for a time, and Photon as well. So she's gone by several different names, but they're going with Photon being Maria Rambeau's call sign. So really cool. I like that character, and we will see her around for a good while in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's still something going on in the background, though, about as far as WandaVision. It's not just Agatha alone. Like, she's probably the main one doing things. Obviously, she's got into Wanda's head with her blue magic. You know, they made her magic blue, that's fine. You know, it's for visual effect, so you can see the difference between her and Wanda. But we've called this always, you know, since the beginning, as even episode 1, we knew that she was somebody, and then her name kind of gave it away, being Agnes, which was Agatha Harkness, being a witch from the Salem witch trial era. She's really, really, really old, and she first appeared in the Fantastic Four, I believe, and so she's not necessarily a villain at all times. So that's why I don't believe, that's one reason I don't believe she's like the main one in the background. She's too small scale, I would say, to lead into Doctor Strange. And speaking of Doctor Strange, I think that's where this is going. So if we go over here to kind of figure out the villain here, I think we have to look at Doctor Strange, right? I do think there's something going on in the background. You know, maybe she's made a deal with somebody. I don't think it's Mephisto, like I said before. There's still that question, but they're throwing out so many Easter eggs just as shout outs that it's really making us all wonder what the hell is going on. We're all just kind of throwing out guesses. We're all throwing, you know, shit against the wall and trying to see what sticks. And so I would say that it could be something like Nightmare or whatever, but I don't think they'll go the Mephisto route. Again, I mentioned the China deal as well. They don't like the supernatural stuff, although you could say that's Nightmare too. But the idea with Nightmare is he's fucking Freddy Krueger, essentially. The nightmares, or the dream realm, is another realm in this multiverse of madness, which is where we're headed to. So we're definitely going towards Doctor Strange 2. The question is, will there be a second season? Most people say they're not, but they have not confirmed either way. So I don't think there will be. If Doctor Strange comes out in 2022, they could squeeze in another season of WandaVision, but I think we're getting to the point now already with, with SWORD, which is basically the space equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D., surrounding the Hex and all this kind of stuff. I don't think they'll do any more than this season. Because we're going to get to Spider-Man 3, which apparently we got a name for that today, by the way. What is it? Spider-Man? Let me look this up really quick. I'm sorry. Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 name reveal. No Way Home. Yes, No Way Home. That's literally it. This is the real one this time. They've been faking us out for a couple of days. So Spider-Man 3 will be called No Way Home. They're continuing the home thing. I think this is ridiculous. I love the movies, don't get me wrong. I hate the names. Homecoming, fine, I kind of get it. Far From Home was just weird. And now No Way Home. So, I don't know. We'll see. Apparently, though, they're doing the multiverse thing in there. Maybe the Spider-Verse. We'll see what they do with the rumors, at least, of Tobey Maguire and all those guys coming back. Anyway, back to Doctor Strange is, if I can click the right tab, who's the villain in Doctor Strange 2? Because I think this gives us some insight into WandaVision and where this is going the last few episodes. Who is the villain? This is from Radio Times here. This is what I thought here. I don't think this is going to be the big bad. I think he'll be a part of it, but I think he's also too small scale. Who is the villain in Doctor Strange 2? At this point, we're not quite sure. The end of Doctor Strange certainly sets up Mordo as the main antagonist for future films, as the post-credit scene saw him turn on Strange for meddling with natural law and claim the planet had too many sorcerers. So they did certainly set that up in Doctor Strange, the first one. But now, I don't know if it's just like him in the background fucking with, making some kind of deal with Agnes. I don't know. That seems too small scale. It seems like to me it's got to be something bigger, like Nightmare, for example. And so again, with Nightmare, you have to set up the idea that the dream state, or the state of dreaming or whatever, is another dimension or another realm. And they can certainly do that, but I don't know if they'll do that in the show in WandaVision. That seems to be something they would explain in a movie, but they could. They could go ahead and set that up. For example, right here, However, there could be a new baddie on the block, Nightmare, ruler of the dream dimension, and the supervillain has the power to suck psychic energies from the subconscious minds of dreaming beings. Now, this is what somebody who used to work on this said here. I really like the character of Nightmare and the concept of Nightmare Realm as a dimension. Derrickson told IGN when questioned on the villain he'd want to bring into the Marvel Universe before he had stepped aside. So this is a guy who I believe was on Doctor Strange 1 and was basically left, but it was asked what character or villain he'd want to bring in. He wanted to bring in Nightmare. We decided not to use Nightmare in the first Doctor Strange film because that's a bit of a complex idea to try to introduce everything we introduce and introduce the idea of nightmares themselves as being a dimension. I hope somewhere down the line we get to explore that because that's a super cool concept. So again, kind of what I'm saying here, I don't know why is that highlighting the whole damn thing? Kind of what I'm saying here is, will they do this? Can they do this in a TV show as far as setting up the Nightmare Realm as a dimension, or is that something they would do in a movie, like a big blockbuster Marvel movie? Yes, the shows are awesome and they're huge. Everybody's watching it, and so they certainly could. And they certainly have the production value of a movie. But is that something they want to save for a movie? I don't know. But also saying here, we can't rule out the possibility of Scarlet Witch herself could be the villain of sorts. She has lost control of her powers in the comics before, causing all sorts of trouble for fellow Avengers. So we kind of talked about that before. I won't go into the whole Doctor Strange thing. That's a whole nother movie. That'll be obviously a movie segment down the road. But I do think it's going to lead to Doctor Strange. So as far as this big rumored cameo, they did confirm that Quicksilver is not the main cameo they were talking about. He is still around, by the way. I think the way that he approached Monica in the end credit scene, just me. But I think that for sure he is going to be now. Well, not for sure. I'm about 70% sure that now he is going to be Pietro Quicksilver from the Fox universe. So now I think since she was in control of him, Agatha Harkness, you saw the little thing at the end where she had the blue energy on him as well. So I don't think he's dead. I think he was pulled from another dimension. They're going this route, obviously. So now I think they can make him the actual Quicksilver from the Fox universe and go, I don't know what happened, and now start introducing these characters. Now, the question is, who's the big person we're going to see coming over from wherever as far as this big cameo? I think it's got to be Magneto. I know a lot of people guess that. It's not hard to do, so I'm not saying it's certainly not the only one saying this. I think a lot of people are. We've seen fake videos of Magneto already in it, as far made to be fake leaks, and turns out they're not real. But I mean, if they're going the opposite of House of M, where instead of getting rid of mutants like she did in the House of M comic series, I think she'll introduce them, and we'll hear the word mutant by the end of this season, and probably hear X gene and some of those terms that we could never hear before when Fox was a separate entity. So I think they'll reverse House of M, as I said before, and go towards having mutants. And the question is, though, how do we find out that Magneto is Wanda and Pietro's father? If she existed before and the MCU has her established as her character having her powers unlocked by the Mind Stone, they can go back and say, okay, now here's the reason why. It was her X gene she had, this gene she had called the X gene, and this energy unlocked the X gene or activated it, and they could go that route. But how they explain Magneto after her, if he's the father? And I'm sure they're going to stick to that. I don't think they're going to make... They pretty much stick to the comics, especially for the big beats. So they have to make Magneto her father. So how do they do that? We'll see. I don't know. Maybe they'll somehow explain something. Somehow he conceived her in another reality, and then she was born in this one. I don't know what they're going to do. So I think to have a big jaw-dropping moment in WandaVision, episode 9, I believe there's only 9 or 10, I don't remember, the last episode of the season, probably the last episode of all time. it can't just be another Avenger. It can't be like, Iron Man showing up, or it can't be Doctor Strange himself. He may show up, but that can't be like the big reveal, right? I mean, it can, I guess. Maybe Paul Bettany was exaggerating, or in his eyes it was that big. But we would expect that. We expect to see occasionally another Avenger pop in these shows, right? If you have a show about Scarlet Witch and Vision, you expect to see maybe Captain America pop in or whatever. That's not going to be a big deal. But when somebody from the Fox universe comes over, Magneto, Professor X, whoever, that's going to be a big moment when they finally cross over and introduce, Deadpool, for example. Now, Deadpool, I don't think is a good fit for this particular show necessarily. But you know what I mean? Somebody from the Fox universe they can now make the MCU. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Who do you think the big villain is? I mean, I think we're all throwing out the same, ideas, Nightmare, Mephisto, Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch, the cat's name. I'm sorry, not the cat. Cat, rabbit, whatever, same thing. I think you're, with the bunny that she's always Mr. Scratch or whatever. So you have all kinds of other villains, all kinds of villains they can do, but you don't want to go too silly because honestly, you got to be honest about it. There's some old school Marvel stuff that's just too silly for the MCU. It needs to be a little bit more serious. So they're dropping some of that stuff and keeping the big beat. So I think they'll make her find out who she really is as far as Magneto, mutants, and all that good stuff, and explain that better hopefully. But I don't know. We'll see. Somebody else is pulling the strings. I don't think it's just going to be Agatha for the show, and then obviously she's being cast in Doctor Strange 2. That's already a given. So I don't think she'll be the villain there. So we'll find out something, probably setting that up as well. Anyway. All right, let's talk about Star Wars, The Mandalorian for a second here. Will there be a season 3 of The Mandalorian? Because we've had a lot of drama lately and controversy. I talked about it last week and cut that one video off where they canceled Gina Carano, Cara Dune. And I said last week in that video that I wasn't here to give you your opinion on any of this. I was giving you my opinion based off what I had read. So with the whole thing with The Mandalorian, will there be a season 3? Because it seems to me, if I remember correctly, that Grace Randolph, who does, is a YouTuber, obviously, big movie reviewer, she seemed to have some inside information last year that, there was some issues on set with Pedro Pascal leaving possibly because he wanted to basically... Essentially, he's the voiceover guy, right? I mean, he's done all the stuff, and it's been mainly a stunt double, which I believe is kin to John Wayne, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot. I think he might be in this article here I'll mention here in a second. The point being is mostly he's doing voiceovers. He's not even in the suit all the time, and he was apparently complaining about wanting to show his face and not just acting without a helmet. Now, he's denied this at times, but you did see, in fact, last year in Season 2, he took his helmet off a lot more, especially towards the end of the season. So there was probably something to it. I'm not sure I don't know how deep it went, but there was rumors that maybe now he leaves because he's now being cast in The Last of Us, which is based off the video game. That was all over the news at the same time that the whole Gina Carano controversy was going on. So just going by that and, how we saw him start taking the helmet off more, which, also could be just coincidence as well, because they had already mentioned some of the things like the rules of his clan, and he didn't know about the bigger Mandalorian culture as far as these other clans who didn't hold the same exact beliefs. So we saw, for example, the Night Owls come in, Bo-Katan, and say, look, you're part of Death Watch, essentially. You're just sub-faction of Death Watch. We don't care. We take our helmets off because that doesn't make us any less Mandalorian. So it was going that direction kind of anyway, but the question is, was that written that way for this reason? Now, I don't know. I'm not here to speculate. I don't have enough information. But the thing that's added to it is it felt really final last year, and I think that's why a lot of people are questioning this. And then, of course, we saw, the House of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, I'm sorry, not the house. What the fuck did I say house for? That be introduced as far as coming out next year in December, when usually The Mandalorian starts in December. So people are questioning, is this going to replace it? They confirmed it would not. and they said there will be a season 3. I believe Favreau did say that production is on schedule, but essentially it is replacing it as far as a timeline anyway, because we're going to see that before Mando season 3. But now what do? You have Baby Yoda, Grogu. Sorry, I cannot not say Baby Yoda. But Grogu is now gone. He's with Luke. They may be occasionally check in with him or something. I hope to occasionally see what's going on with him before it heads to episode 7 and what happens with Luke's Jedi Academy. But it did feel pretty final. So I think they'll come back, but now it's a complete new show. I mean, essentially. Cara Dune's gone, so no more hooking up with Cara Dune occasionally, which, again, she wasn't in every episode. She's not absolutely necessary. So you got to kind of do almost a reboot with him. You kind of know the character now. So now what does he do? Is it going to be more about just bounty hunting? Just some badassery of actually how he performs his craft? We've only seen a little bit of that, how he actually does things. How does he track down these people? We see it. We've seen him get the bounty pucks before, but it skips all the detailed stuff. So are we going just to see a regular bounty hunting show? Is he going to get kind of intertwined in more Jedi storylines? I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with season 3 and beyond now that Grogu's gone, because it felt pretty final to me. But anyway, according to this, just to go over this article really quickly, I wasn't wanting to go over this whole article, just to the end here. No spoilers. This is from, I believe, the stunt double. I believe this is him. Let me see. Yes. Brendan Wayne, grandson of the legendary actor John Wayne. And of course, we assume that he would be joined by Baby Yoda. I'm not going to call this Grogu. See, they don't want to call him Grogu either. Can't make us. Now we know that's over. But he says here in the end, no spoilers. But just in case the world didn't know yet, Pedro Pascal is incredible. The journey they wrote for him this season was so beautiful. The fact that Pedro went beyond the page and made this epic. Thank you, Pedro Pascal. And he added, yes, Pedro is coming back. There was never any question. Do not believe everything you read. So according to him, anyway, and this article from Digital Spy here, who is, this was done by, can I get to the top? David Opie and Sam Ashurst, I believe. Basically, they were going through the same question that I'm talking about here is, is there going to be a season 3? Well, he says there is. So what are they going to do? I don't know. I mean, you don't have to have Baby Yoda. We never expected him in the first place. I think they can do a perfectly good show of just him being a bounty hunter and learning more about the culture, the Mandalorian culture. But you got unfinished business, right? You have Darksaber still involved. You have Bo-Katan. So I think that's where they kind of have to go. They have to go back to the Mandalorian culture and all that, as opposed to kind of getting mixed up in Jedi affairs and all that stuff, which obviously that takes away from the Mandalorian. I had always said that if they do too much Jedi stuff, even though I loved Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, I would love to see them team up together. I think that would be an outstanding show. But now Ahsoka's got her own show, so now they can cross over and do what they want, which I really, really look forward to. But anytime you have like Ahsoka in there, for example, or Baby Yoda, it starts to overshadow the Mandalorian stuff. Although he was still central in all that stuff, he just can't fuck with the Jedi, and that's just all there is to it. So anyway, looks like they are going to move forward. It's just a question of what they're going to do. Really quickly, speaking of the Gina Carano stuff, she did an interview, an hour interview with Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire. She did sign on to produce and be in her own movie with them now. So the reason I want to mention that really quickly is just for the episode last week, and then I cut off the separate video where I had talked about her being canceled. She basically confirmed the point that I was trying to make, that she, and I suggest if you're interested in this type of thing, and it is drama related, but go watch that video. Go watch the interview that she did with Ben Shapiro, where she talks about all this stuff and her time at Lucasfilm, really kind of exposes some things there and gives you her perspective on things. So if you're one of those people who are like, no, she deserves what she got, whatever, she's been trouble, blah, 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 or if you did support her, either way, go watch that and get some insight as to what I was trying to say in that video. And it confirmed basically that all this she was trying to point out was this is how bad things start to happen. Essentially, this was her intent, because that's what's missing from these conversations is intent. You can't just, people post something and then without thinking about what they actually mean, what their intent was, they just start labeling, calling them names and saying they're horrible, and that's not what she meant at all. And I could see that. I thought it was pretty clear. Other people apparently could not, but she does say, essentially, this is how bad things happen. It starts with labels and bullying, and your neighbor hates you before somebody else can come do something horrible. And that was the comparison she was making. It was not about being conservative, being compared to being Jewish during the Nazi reign in Germany. That's not what she was saying at all. Anyway, not to stay on that, I just wanted to mention that because, again, that's all I said it was. That's all my opinion was that's what she meant by that. I've seen it over and over, and turns out that's exactly, according to her, again, her intent as far as that whole drama. But anyway, either way, she's moved on. Mandalorian will continue. What do you think they're going to do in season 3, whenever it starts filming or comes out? We have no idea. We're going to get the Book of Boba Fett first. Now I'm looking more forward to Ahsoka, but that's just me. But I still love the Mandalorian, and hope they find another good. They still have a lot of good stuff to go through, so they can go through the whole Mandalorian culture, Darksaber, Bo-Katan, all that kind of stuff as well. And then still have an occasional Ahsoka show up and do some things, help him out, whatever. That's always good to have the crossover ability. Anyway, that will do it for today. I think that's all I really had. Nothing else really big as far as newsworthy or show-wise. Let me know what you think in the comments below about all these various topics. Have you watched Greenland? Did you think it was as bad as people thought? Did you think it was okay? Or did you hate it? That's fine, too. Let me know what you think about that. WandaVision. You still loving it? I think everybody's really loving it. Now we need some answers. I think that's what everybody's kind of feeling. Let me know what you think, who this villain is. Is it... There's no clear-cut answer to me. There's so many shout-outs to everybody. But is it Nightmare? I do think it will either way head to Doctor Strange 2. And he'll probably show up, I'm sure, at the end as well. So we'll see if that's the big reveal or if it's 2 people. We'll see. And the Mando season 3, where are they going with that? We'll see. I think they have to kind of refocus on the actual Mandalorian culture itself. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you dig these type of videos, do me a huge favor if you made it this far, and give me a like. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to turn this channel around and get it back to at least moving forward again. And so that's why I'm doing these new formats and trying new things for a little while to see what happens. But if you dig the content, just take a second, and click the like button and leave a comment and subscribe, and that all signals to YouTube that you enjoy it, and maybe other people will as well, and then it makes it easier for other people to find these types of videos. Again, if you're interested in the Crimson Gods, my book, which I'm really, really excited to get out to the world in the next few months by the summer again, check out that link in the description below. And you can also read, there's an update there. You can read the first couple chapters if you're interested in that as well. And I really appreciate the continued support from everybody on Patreon that continues to sponsor these videos. I really appreciate it. So if you would like to support the channel in any way, whether it be just a one-time donation or Patreon, which is a monthly thing, or joining the channel, all that kind of stuff, all those links will be in the description below. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.